It turns out that YouTube has been recommending the first couple episodes of Nydal, which means that there's a whole bunch of new people joining us on this journey today. To all of you who are new to my channel, welcome. If you like how this series is going, you might be interested in checking out the rest of the videos that I put out before. I have all kinds of playlists with ultra detailed city skylines projects of this kind. There's no shortage of episodes you can watch or binge watch for that matter. So just something to keep in mind. Before I start talking about a whole bunch of things that I have written down here, I do want to point out something, a mistake that I made when I created the map. It was pointed out by someone in the Steam workshop. You're going to see it in just a second as I fix it in-game, just for this save game, which is the fact that I left this two-lane highway connecting with this national highway, which means that traffic can't go out of the city in just one direction. It's kind of like trapped in the one lane that comes in, and then all the traffic is going out on the other national road. I fixed that in game using the 81 tiles mod. In case you were wondering, if you started building on this map and you want to fix that, that's what you will have to do. Just get the 81 tiles mod, unlock everything, fix the thing. You can save the game, quit the game, unsubscribe the mod, and then you're going to be fine. In fact, right now, I'm no longer using the 81 tiles mod, at least not just yet. I'm kind of holding off on using that mod until it's absolutely necessary, because it makes the game a little bit slow, especially on startup. So I try to, I've been avoiding to use it. But that's just like a minor thing. Again, the map will be properly updated in the workshop, probably by the time this video goes out. So you can resubscribe if you haven't yet, or if you're interested in playing with this map and having that be fixed. I'll probably be improving a few other things in the map as well. But based on the overwhelming amount of comments in the last couple episodes, mostly positive. Actually, I would say like 99% of those were pretty much positive. So thank you so much for the support, and I'm glad you're really enjoying the direction to which this project is going to. I do want to sort of set some expectations based on some of the comments that I've been getting. First of all, nothing that you see on any one of my videos is ever really finished. Let me give you an example. So this sort of grid layout that we had here, I just laid those down just to have an idea of scale. That doesn't mean that if I put down a whole bunch of empty roads, that's what the layout of the street is going to be like after I put down buildings. A second ago, you just saw me modified all of that quite dramatically, if I may say. And in fact, I'm adding even like more streets, like I'm doing right here on the screen right now, that sort of create these odd shapes and things like that. So, I haven't at this point in the series added like large buildings. I definitely want to add churches, government buildings, museums, things like that. But it's very likely that I'm just going to be creating a base layer of residential, commercial, and maybe some offices, and then just bulldoze a whole bunch of blocks to make room for a big just government building or a museum or a church or whatever else. Like I just mentioned a second ago. Now I'm repeating myself, but it's, nothing that you see. The point is, nothing that you see on the screen is really ever finished. It's always a work in progress. And I've been known to bulldoze whole sections of a city to accommodate for future plans. And it's like a living, breathing thing that's always changing. Obviously, I don't want to redo everything all over again on every single episode. I try my best to sort of plan ahead a little bit. But, nothing is ever set in stone, which is what I guess I'm trying to say. So another thing that I do want to point out is the fact that I don't want this series to be like the most realistic city, European at least, inspired city in the world, or based on any real city or any one country. That's sort of what I was aiming for. So this is not going to be a Norwegian city, it's not going to be a German city, it's not going to be an Italian city or a Polish city or a Lithuanian city. It's just going to be a European-esque vibe sort of city. It could be in Europe, but also it could maybe not be in Europe or adjacent to Europe, if that makes any sense. It's just something that I'm making up based on my experience of places I've visited, places I liked, places I've seen online, and things like that. I obviously take recommendations from the comments. I'm not opposed to that. But if this doesn't look exactly, like places around you, if you live in Europe, or places that you've been to, I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm not aiming for absolutely 100% realism. If you're expecting this from the series, maybe this is not the series for you. I do apologize if I misled you in any way, but that's not what I'm aiming for, because I don't think I'll ever be able to accomplish that. By the fact that I don't live in Europe. I visited Europe many times, but I don't live there. I didn't grow up there, and also there's a whole bunch of limitations of the game itself. So there's so much that I can do. Hopefully that made some sense. Also, just keep in mind that I'm not a full-time YouTuber. I do this on my spare time, and each one of these episodes, even though they're like 15 minutes long on average, they take like between 10 and 20 hours to produce. So I just only record things on my spare time and weekends, and I do my best to keep the schedule pretty much active. I'm aiming for at least one video a week. Lately, I've been able to, thankfully, to post 2 videos a week, but that may not be the case at all times, so just something to keep in mind. And one last thing, one sort of announcement that I want to make is, in case you missed it, a couple days ago, I put together this live stream. I hosted like a 2-hour live stream where I went over just my list of essential mods for City Skylines. So if you're playing vanilla, or you've never played City Skylines, you're just getting started and you're a bit overwhelmed by how mods work and which ones you should get to just get started, or how do you even enable mods, because a lot of people don't know how to do that. I suggest you go watch that video if you want to take your City Skylines projects to the next level. I even recommend this if you're playing by the vanilla game mechanics, unlike what I do here, which I obviously don't care about the game mechanics in case you didn't notice yet. There's a whole bunch of tips and things that I go through. There's a list of 17 mods that I'm going to be covering, and I'm actually answering questions on this recorded live stream. There's timestamps in the description that you can click on in order to jump through the different topics, so you don't have to watch the 2.5 hours unless you really want to. And you can always come back to that video if you want a bit more help with things. But just something that I thought might be interesting for many of you that may somehow missed this live stream. In any case, that's all I have on my list of topics that I wanted to talk about. I think it's a good idea to maybe start mentioning what's happening on the screen. So these are the first props I'm putting down, believe it or not. The last clip of this video is going to show you how many props I've used in total. This is not something that I necessarily planned, but I'm kind of trying for the road networks and just fences and things like that, or keys for that matter, and trees, to sort of do the heavy lifting in terms of detailing all these scenes. So far, that has been paying off quite dramatically. I feel like all these streets are very, very much detailed, and it's mostly because of how amazing the actual networks of streets and fences look like on their own. Very few props that I'm adding here and there. That's actually great, because the city could potentially be much larger than what it is. I honestly have no idea which size I'm going for. It really all depends on just how the geography sort of shapes everything, and how I feel about just continuing expanding and things like that. Obviously, I'm going to have suburbs that are less dense than what I'm working on right now. Those will definitely be, well, on the suburbs, just on the outskirts of the city, not so much on the city center, which is, I guess, what I'm working on right now. But yeah, this, again, it's an evolving thing, and I have no idea where we will take this. Also worth pointing out that I upgraded the tram tracks. I've been getting a lot of comments in the last couple of videos saying that I should upgrade to Jarenable's tram tracks. Even Jarenable himself asked me to do that, so I did. And I ended up having to use another mod to remove the crosswalks, because, well, I was using roads options to remove the vanilla crosswalks, which worked fine, but Jarenable roads are vanilla, but the game doesn't consider them vanilla. They're like a custom road, apparently. But I use this, what do you call it? The crosswalk remover beta mod thing. It works perfectly fine. It's an old mod, but it still works. It doesn't even have a thumbnail, I think. It's in the collection of assets. If you really want to use it, I keep all of my assets and mods in those collections that are linked in the description of this video, which is also a question that it's been repeating over and over again, probably by people who've never watched my videos, so it's probably a good reminder. Every single asset that I use is in a collection, and it's usually 100% of the time linked below every video that I put together. And oh man, I wanted to talk about what I did there just a second ago. Oh, it's actually off the screen. But one technique that I've been trying a lot is just raising, like if I have a copy of the same building, I would just duplicate it, put it right next to one another, and then raise it above, which will create an interesting texture. You can kind of see it on the screen right now. There's a lot of buildings that you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But if you rewind a little bit, you'll see that I raised an exact copy of a building and just put it clipping right next to one another, and it creates like this. It's like a larger building that's all somewhat connected by how it looks. So I'm probably going to be doing that more often in future episodes, and I'll try to show you more on camera exactly what I did. Also, first roundabout or traffic circle, I guess, that I'm putting in this part of town is significantly smaller than the one I did before. And I've been playing around with this idea of using the pedestrian paths from Park Life, which are really detailed and they look pretty awesome, as somewhat of a pedestrian / car kind of area, like a shared space that I thought it was a really cool idea. I'm going to keep tweaking that roundabout. What you saw there is not the final version. In the cinematics at the very end of this video, you're going to see how that turned out to look like. It's much nicer than that. By the way, in case you didn't know, because I was actually looking at, this is like totally random, I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but I was looking at my analytics, and it turns out that many of you are abandoning my videos as soon as I say, well, thank you for watching and blah, blah, blah. But there's like, the video continues for like another minute or so with like super eye candy, endorphin inducing cinematics. So yeah, maybe stick to the very end of the video. You might actually enjoy it more than this part even. Another thing that I totally forgot to mention is, since I started Nydal, you probably noticed that I have this this slider at the bottom left corner of the screen that says 25%. So that's an idea I sort of took from Press. Press is another YouTuber who does City Skylines videos, and he's sort of slowed down the simulation as he builds, so that since we're recording this and then spinning it up in post, the time lapse sometimes when we rotate the camera, it just looks a little bit jerky, like really fast motion, and it's kind of disorienting. So he slowed down the simulation to have like an easing movement, and I sort of copied that technique. I think it works great, and hopefully this makes watching time lapses a little bit more easy, or easier, I guess will be the right word to use. So let me know what you think of that. It's really doesn't add a lot in terms of me having to like, because otherwise if you slow it down, I mean, imagine that I have to like move the camera and it takes forever. But having it set at 25% is actually pretty decent. So not a huge problem in terms of producing these videos. This episode, of course, I'm gonna go heavy on the trees for the most part. Only a few props I'm using, and I'm just trying to sort of tie all these sort of loose ends in between the different neighborhoods. I will start putting down the actual tram lines and things like that in a couple episodes. I will probably do that on a live stream. I think I mentioned that or hinted at that before. I think that is more doable during a live stream, because you know, if I do a time lapse of me putting bus lines and tram lines, it's probably going to be a bit chaotic. But I do want the city to sort of develop a bit more before I spend time doing that, because obviously the tram tracks are actually or the roads that make the tram network, they're probably going to change quite a bit from now until I start adding those. But yeah, please enjoy the rest of the cinematics. They're a little bit longer today. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing if you haven't yet. And if you want to be notified next time I post a video, also make sure to subscribe. But that's pretty much all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you in the next one.